Hi, and welcome to today. We're doing 20-ish questions with Laura from Inventors and Makers. So really excited to have Laura on today to answer a few more questions about her franchise. How are you doing today, Laura?
Pretty good, thank you. Got a bit of a autumn cold going on, but yeah, all right.
Excellent, excellent. So to start with, I would like to know what inspired you with your franchise?
Yeah, so I guess there's two parts to this. The first is what inspired me to start Inventors and Makers, and then like why is it now a franchise? So I'm an ex-primary school teacher, also worked in California in education technology for a few years on a break from teaching. And when I was over in California, kind of you'd really sort of see the world of the future when you're the working world of the future, let's say, when you're in kind of Silicon Valley and you see all these jobs that are very tech based. And it became like really apparent to me that the sort of skills that children today are going to need when they are in this world, like problem solving and more creativity and collaboration. A lot of the jobs that we have today just aren't going to be around. Came back to the UK, started teaching in schools again. And I was like, this isn't really what I want to be doing. I want to be focusing on those things that I really saw a gap in the market for. And just like, well, not really even a gap in the market, just a need for, for kids to have. So initially started doing holiday clubs with STEM and those kind of technology and engineering skills and focusing on the problem solving too. And then I was like, I actually don't want to be doing holiday clubs. I've got young kids. This doesn't really make sense for me. So then we moved to schools and nurseries, and it's kind of that's how Inventors and Makers kind of came about. And then there's two of us that run the classes and workshops and clubs and everything right now, but we're really getting to, we can't take all the bookings that we are getting requests for, which is a good problem, obviously. And we get requests from all sorts of places all over the country as well, because we have quite a big mailing list all around the UK and internationally that we send out resources to. So schools are getting in touch and like, can you come in? And we're like, well, we can't because we're 4 hours drive from you. So yeah, it seemed like the next thing to do really was to franchise. And we didn't want to sort of start employing teachers here and there and things, because Susie, who works for me, and I, like, we love what we do. We love that we get to do all the great bits of teaching and get rid of some of the not so great bits of teaching. And we love what we teach. And because it's my business, I actually love running a business. I think it's a really great thing to do. And I was like, we can help other teachers have this kind of like love for their job and love for owning what they're doing. So yeah, that's why we started franchising.
Amazing. And I know you're kind of new to the franchising sort of market, but what can you tell me about the sort of franchise sector that you're in? Do you class yourself as like a STEM franchise or an early years? Where do you see yourself in the franchising model?
Yeah, I think we're a little bit different to to a lot of other franchises. There's the STEM franchises, which we would be really like, that's the first thing that I'd say we would be part of. A lot of them are US based, I've started to discover. A lot are not UK based. They're big franchises in the States and they just brought their model over here, which is fine. But we are really UK based. We're from UK curriculum initially, well, British English curriculum, and we understand how British schools work. And so we've kind of really set up with that in mind. A lot of US franchises, you have to have like your location and everybody, because school finishes much earlier in the US. So people go there after school for a few hours, but that's not really what, places tend to do in the UK. So we're a little bit different than a lot of the STEM franchises in that we are UK based. I'd also say the big difference between most franchises, actually, I'm yet to see one that does require this, is that we only are going to take on qualified teachers. We're really about education over entertainment. I know some other STEM franchises have kind of presenters that will come in and run the clubs, run the workshops, which is fine. But one thing that we really get feedback from teachers on is they're like, oh my gosh, I can tell you're a teacher. It's so good that you know what you're doing. I can not leave you with, but you can take control of my class. I'm not having to step in. We can run clubs without having other adults there. We can manage behavior. And so that is a little bit different. It probably makes it a bit harder to find franchisees, but I think it's worth it because it's really we're kind of like a premium brand, I'd say, that we're only going to do that. And then the other thing that follows on from that really is we don't do birthday parties. I was actually talking to someone that I'm in discussions with last week, and he said, oh, it really stood out to me when I first read your stuff that I don't have to do birthday parties. I'm like, of course you don't. You're a teacher. Like, yeah, okay, if you want to at your weekends, go and do birthday parties, fine. But I don't think most teachers really want, a lot of us have got young families, or we've got dogs or families or parents we're caring for, like other things in our lives that we want to do at weekends. And we are trained and qualified people that should be educating children and not kind of doing parties. So, I mean, for lots of franchises, it works really, really well. But that's not part of your income stream. You're not expected as a franchisee to be going and sitting loads of children down and doing some entertainment for them. We're not entertainment, we're education, we're in educational settings. So that, I think, is kind of the other part that sets us apart a little bit.
Yeah, nice. And because with that in mind, I know you've got some exciting plans for the future. So could you tell us a few of the things that you've got planned in the immediate future and then further afield?
Yeah, so I mean, we're always coming up with new workshops. A big kind of thing for us every year is British Science Week, which is in March. So every year we launch a whole new set of workshops. And so we get quite a lot of rebookings from schools because of that, because they just say, they don't even know what we're going to do next year. And they say, right, book you for next March, done. Even like sometimes more than a year in advance, because they know we're going to have new workshops that we're going to go in and run for the theme. So that is kind of the big thing that we're working on within Inventors and Makers at the moment. And then more broadly with franchising, we've only just launched. So I'm talking to different people at the moment about coming on board, and we're sort of getting everything ready, getting all the onboarding ready so that we are ready to hit the ground running with our first founding franchisees.
Brilliant. And apart from being a teacher, what do you think are the most important qualities for someone working as a franchisee for Inventors and Makers?
It's interesting because I was talking to somebody about this week, and I said to him, well, I know that you'd be a great franchisee. And I said, by the way, it is a two-way process. You know, it feels like it must feel to you, am I choosing this? Is this the right thing? But I just want you to know that I've also chosen you. And he was like, oh, I hadn't really thought about it like that. And I was like, yeah, because any franchisor wants to make sure that the people that are coming on are going to be good at it, because if you're not going to be good at it, you're not going to enjoy it. You know, it's not going to be a happy balance at all. So I had to sort of say to him, what were the things that I thought made someone good at it? And definitely you have to be self-motivated. I think all teachers are anyway. You have to be a teacher. So being really self-motivated, because you don't have a boss anymore. You decide what you do. A bit tenacious, really. You've got to keep going and approaching schools and approaching nurseries, very organized, because you're basically doing everything, especially at the beginning. It's your business. You've got you're juggling all the plates, spinning all the plates even. And just a quick learner, really, because there's so much new stuff. I love all the stuff that I've learned about running a business. I didn't know anything about it either. And I've learned so much, and I love that. And I think most teachers love learning new things, because that's part of teaching. You've suddenly got to teach a new topic, and you've got to figure it all out and then teach it to someone else. So just being not afraid to kind of have a go and get stuck in and appreciate what you don't know and learn the things you don't, so that you start to have a really good understanding of your own business.
Yeah, lovely. Could you talk me through a typical day in the sort of Inventors and Makers classroom? So what's the first thing you do when you get there?
Well, so a typical day for like me or for a franchisee is very different every day. So just now I was cutting up loads of little bits of paper, putting them into takeaway containers for a nursery that I'm going to on Wednesday. And then I was cutting up eye stickers. So there's a lot of stuff that happens before you even get into the classroom. There's the preparing and the packing, and a lot of them I call them like in front of the TV jobs, because I really didn't need to just stand there cutting up paper. I could have done that tonight. So there's all the prep and packing. A lot of it's the same things each time. So you end up with boxes of stuff that you're just ready to take. And then you get there and you set up and you meet the teacher or whoever that you're working with that you probably haven't met before, because we go into a lot of new schools and new nurseries. Or if it's a nursery you go to every month, you say the kids are waving because they're excited to see you, but you haven't put your lab coat on yet. So they're not quite sure if you're the same person. It's quite nice. Sometimes you turn up, the parents recognize you as well. Oh, hello, you're here today, are you? And then doing the workshops, the sessions with the children. So jumping around if you're with early years, I do a lot with Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 as well. So, it could be building structures, or it could be doing moon launches in our engineering with space workshops, so like all sorts of different things. It's all really hands-on. There's a bit of teaching. It's quite like a traditional lesson in that we have intros and warm-ups, and then a more extended practical activity and a sort of plenary at the end. So, it's designed by teachers. And then coming home and unpacking all your stuff, checking if there's some emails from schools that you need to reply to. So, yeah, I mean, some days you might not be in schools at all and you're just doing your emails. Other days you might be doing an after-school club. So you're at home in the day and then you pack your stuff and you go off and you run a club with the same kids that you see every week, which might lead on from the week before. So they're all excited to get on with it because they know what you're going to do that week. Yeah, very practical and hands-on. Lots of things and bits that you're packing and unpacking and building things with.
Yeah, it sounds really nice and really creative. So this leads on to a creative question. If you had a theme song for Inventors and Makers, what would that be and why?
We actually do have a theme song.
Oh,
yeah. So,
are you going to sing it?
I will not, but it is available online, not on Spotify.
Excellent.
So yeah, in lockdown, we started doing kind of, as you have to quickly figure out what you're going to do, we started doing a lot of online classes. And I'm a bit musical, as is my husband. So I was like, oh, we get, because they were all for the much younger children. I was like, I want a song. We need a song. You need a song in your classes. And obviously copyright, you can't be playing everyone else's songs all the time. Mm-hmm. So I think this is how Taylor Swift writes songs. And that is the only comparison that I can make between me and Taylor Swift. I sang what I wanted the song to be into a voice note and then sent that voice note to a lady that records music and stuff, and she put together our Little Steamers song, which is what we play in nurseries. And it's got actions, and so we have a song.
That's so cool. I'm gonna have a listen to that for sure. What a great idea.
What do they call it? An earwig, one of those songs that sticks in your head.
Yes, yeah. I've got young children, so I've got a lot of those in my head all the time, mainly from Taylor Swift, to be fair.
It doesn't compare, by the way. Don't compare it to
she might pick it up on her next tour and roll with it. So what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about becoming a franchisee?
So I mean, the first thing to do, if you were thinking about being a franchisee with us or with anybody really, would be to speak to me or the franchisor, because there's always going to be some questions, you're kind of like non-negotiables, and just to kind of get a feel for the person that you'd be working with, really. Would you get on with them? Do you seem like a good fit for chatting together? Because if you're not going to get on over a conversation, it's going to be a very difficult working relationship for years to come. So having a chat with whoever it is and feeling out anything that are concerns for you, and then definitely going and seeing some sessions. So I had someone come down last week, and he's actually currently a secondary school teacher, so he was a bit nervous about nursery sessions. He was like, oh, I'm okay with Key Stage 2 and maybe Key Stage 1, but I'm not sure about going into nursery. So I was like, look, I get it. I was a year 6 teacher mostly. It wasn't until I had my own children that I went down the year groups and went, oh my gosh, teaching 3-year-olds is really fun. So, and he has young kids. So he said, I know how to talk to young kids. I know how to do it, but I don't know how a group of 30 works. And, from my point of view, I don't want someone who doesn't know how a nursery works to be running our sessions either. So I said, look, come down. And he came down at a day where we had a couple of nursery sessions, a year 1 after school club, and came along to watch it all. And I said, just watch. You don't have to do anything. Just watch, see if you can see yourself doing this. And he saw 2 sessions that were the same. And after the first one, he was like, it's a bit of a kind of different thing at first, but I think I could do it. And then in the second one, he sort of joined in with the song and the warm-up and stuff. He was like, I'm so glad I came to see this, because it's really reassured me that I could do that and I would actually enjoy doing that. He said, I sing to my kids at home. Why would I not sing with, I mean, you don't actually have to sing because there's a recording that we play and you can just mouth along to it. But he was like, I can do that. So definitely going to see some sessions and figuring out, can you imagine yourself doing that? Because if you can't, you don't want to do it every day. So that, I guess that's my advice. Speak to the franchisor and then go and see some of the stuff in action.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip, because you know, this idea about visualizing yourself there is very powerful, isn't it? Because otherwise you can put up potential blocks and fears that, you know, can just be alleviated by going and watching. So yeah, wonderful. So thinking about you personally, how do you unwind after a really busy day? Say you've had a couple of back-to-back sessions and you've got a cold. How do you unwind and relax and give yourself a bit of me time?
Well, I have 2 kids and a dog, so I don't do a lot of unwinding. Yeah, I mean, spending time with my children obviously is sometimes unwinding, and sometimes walking my dog, although less often, is unwinding. He's quite high energy dog. But I love going to the theatre. We live in the outskirts of London, so I go into the theatre a lot. I love listening to music and seeing my friends. Went to the cinema with some friends last night. Just, you know, normal stuff that you try and fit in your evenings. I mean, that is the good thing from versus primary school teaching. I actually have my evenings. I went out on a Sunday night to the cinema, and, you know, I didn't have to worry about work or what I was going to do when I got up this morning. I have my evenings, and I like to make the most of them, either going out or watching rubbish TV at home, obviously, sometimes as well.
Do you know, it's so true, isn't it? Like Sunday evening, as a teacher, you couldn't possibly think about going anywhere or doing anything. I mean, I know I didn't. For 19 years, I think I'd have dinner, and then that's kind of it. That's like everything's quiet time now, and you had to sort of focus on what you're going to do the next day. So yeah, really nice to hear that you've got your evenings back. And I was going to ask you another question. I've just forgotten it. Sorry. I was going to ask you one about. No, I've gone completely blank. Sorry.
I do this all the time. Don't worry about it.
Probably shouldn't have gone out Sunday night, and probably should have thought of my questions to ask. So once someone's come and seen you in action, and you've had a chat with them, and they're really keen, what's the next steps for them?
Yeah, so once they're keen, I mean, then if I'm happy that they would be a great fit, then it's go, basically. So obviously with teaching, it's tricky, isn't it? Because your notice period could be half a term, could be for some people a full term. So I'm not in a super hurry that someone needs to start immediately, that they say go. They might say, Laura, I want to do this, but, you know, not realistically going to be able to leave until, you know, 2 months time or whatever it would be. But I say, right, well, that's fine. Do you want to get started now? And you can start doing some of the stuff in the background. If you work 4 days a week, or, you know, if you're going to be winding down towards the end of your job, maybe you've got some time to kind of start doing the setup stuff, some of the onboarding and the training in your evenings or at your weekends, if you're really keen to get started. So it's kind of flexible as to how quickly you want to go. But I mean, we're ready. There's a big process of kind of going through all of the training and all of the onboarding, which hopefully is going to be super organized. I'm a very, very organized person. You know, we've got a lot of stuff done for franchisees. So, you know, they don't have to do social media or anything like that. So that kind of stuff, you don't even have to worry about it. You've got to set yourself up and then basically start the training. So it would be, we've got all the emails written. So these are like, this is how you approach a school. And we have, you know, a couple of thousand teachers around the country on our mailing list already. So here's a bunch of people already in your territory that we can give you and introduce you to. And maybe we might even have bookings, depending on where you are, in your territory already, that we can hand over to you. So it's just really getting started in your area. But I mean, because these are our first franchisees that we're looking for right now. It's a really important set of people that we're going to bring on. Our founding franchisees, they're going to shape what this franchise business looks like. So it's a two-way process. You know, we're doing a reduced initial fee to come on board because, you know, we're going to give you the most support that we'll ever give any franchisee that ever comes on with Inventors and Makers. But at the same time, there might be bits in it that you say, oh, Laura, this bit's not that helpful. It would be helpful if you did this instead. And we're going to be like, thank you so much. Yes, let's change that. And then it makes it better for the next people that come on. But it's really going to be at the beginning a partnership really of helping our franchisees get up and running and going with things.
Amazing. And they, like you said, they can do that as quick or as slow as they like. And that's great, isn't it? Because you can work out all those other factors of leaving teaching, which are quite difficult and quite stressful. And you can just take your time and really sort of build your business until it's at a great point. And then if you wanted to, you could leave teaching, couldn't you? And it would support you.
Yep, that's the hope. Yep.
Excellent, excellent. And just finally, where's the best place to learn more about Inventors and Makers? Yeah, so feel free to share your socials, and I'll put your website in the chat as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we've got a page on our website that's all about franchising, and on that you can download a brochure. It's a very thorough brochure. I've downloaded one once from a company years ago, and I was looking, and it was one page like a poster. I was like, this doesn't tell me anything. But our brochure is long; it gives loads of detail. Hopefully it isn't a boring read. Hopefully it's an interesting read. So you have everything. I'm not going to cold call anybody, so you don't need to be afraid to put your details in. I don't like calling people up and bothering them if they don't want to have a conversation. So I'll either text or email with kind of some follow-up, some more information, and hopefully from there have a chat. So yeah, you can follow us on Facebook, Inventors and Makers, Instagram, Inventors and Makers, LinkedIn. We're everywhere.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for sharing some more insights about your wonderful business and how you're encouraging teachers to come in and become inventors and makers themselves.
Thank you so much, Katie. I really enjoyed chatting.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.